Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and it's just me. And I'm going to do what I typically do in the month of May when it's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is already fucking over, by the way. I'm going to talk about some things that I deal with or that I can't stand or that I think need to be addressed in terms of mental health or otherwise people's mental peace. Stating that, you know what phrase I really hate and I never want to hear again? I was only trying to help. I know you've heard people say that. And what it means is they put in an effort, sure, but did you ask for it? Because, you know, I'm just a hair over 40, and I have only heard maybe a handful of times from people that want to help me, what can I do to help? What can I do, if anything? How can I help you? As opposed to people doing shit and then saying, well, I was only trying to help. And they get upset with you for being upset with them for doing something that they thought was going to help you, but in reality just created another problem or solves one problem and creates one or two more. You're just making the situation worse at times even. I was only trying to help is for children. They thought they were making an effort, but they have an underdeveloped understanding of what it takes to actually help somebody in a beneficial capacity. For instance, when I was like 7 years old, I tried to wash my dad's truck, and I started doing so, and he caught me right away, thankfully, because I was using a bucket of water and an SOS pad, which would have scratched the shit out of his truck. But thankfully, it didn't. But again, these types of phrases are for people that don't bother to ask you how can they help you, or you just assume that you know what's best. And if anybody over 18 uses the phrase, I was only trying to help, they have some shit that they need to address. Like, honestly, somebody who genuinely wants to help, offers their help. If you say no, they say, are you sure? Well, if you change your mind, just let me know. And then they leave it at that. But somebody who insists that they be allowed to help and either rants about it until you let them or goes ahead and does it anyway, that's about what they need, not what you need. That's them trying to satiate their own ego in a way so they can feel like they're making a contribution when you won't let them in. And I can think of no greater example than my own parents in my life who are boomers. And as I've said many times, people of that generation have some serious fucking boundary issues, and they don't know how to address seeking out guidance. They just assume they know what to do because their parents taught them stuff. And they think they're just going to do whatever the fuck. And that's not at all helpful. My mom is especially bad at this and will never ask. A reoccurring problem I have is that she will buy clothing for my children. And then I will get them from her a short time thereafter. And the kids have already almost grown out of these clothes because she doesn't ever think to ask me what size they are. And we fought about this a number of times where I'm like, all you do is call me and I tell you what sizes they're in and what they need. Now, if you don't like being told you're wrong and you're like Linda and you can't admit fault or that you do anything wrong and apparently are completely emotionally averse to the concept of going to the service desk and saying, I need to make a return, because she'll say, well, I don't have the receipt. Excuses. You told me to always keep my receipts as a kid. So now you're not following your own advice. It's do as I say, not as I do? The fuck is that? You say you want to help me by lightening my financial burden by providing some clothes for the kids because it makes you feel like you're helping take care of your grandchildren. And you are when you get it right. But when you buy them ugly, stupid shit that they see and they're like, ick, no. And I try to give it back, you're like, I don't have your receipt. This whole situation could have been avoided if you asked me, what do they like? What size are they in? What style do they want or wear these days? Or maybe just take them to the fucking store with you and buy them a few things rather than just showering us with these presents that we never asked for. And now I have like 7 Rubbermaid totes full of outgrown girl clothes that I don't even know what the fuck to do with anymore.
God damn it.
My father is not without his faults in this department. He was told by the mother of my oldest 2 children last year that the back deadbolt of my house was kind of sticky and they were having trouble getting it to lock. And the problem was not the key, and the problem was not the lock. The problem was that she's a dumb bitch who doesn't know how to pull on the knob, which you got to do because the house has settled some, and the door frame is on 100% in perfect alignment, and you just pull a little while you turn the key and it goes right in. Well, Dudley Do-Right over here thinks, well, I have the answer for everything. And he comes over and he douches the inside of my key cylinder with WD-40. And when I found that out, I was livid because, unlike my dad, I pay attention to trends of home improvement and how things change. You know, my dad didn't work in a home improvement center like I did for 6.5 years, and he didn't rekey door locks like I did or have ever since the year 2001. But he seems to think that his antiquated old world knowledge still fucking applies. And I don't know what it is with old guys and fucking shooting WD-40 into every crevice they can, thinking that they're fixing shit. But he was trying to lubricate a door lock cylinder. And the issue here is that WD-40 technically is a lubricant, but more importantly, it's a solvent that dissolves lubricants. So what he did is spray that in there, and then it ate up any of the grease that the factory had put on the deadbolt, so the cylinder turned in the housing easier. He didn't think to ask me, he just did it. And then he had the audacity to tell me to stop yelling at him when I blew my fucking gasket. I'm like, I just pulled my key out and got WD-40 all over my fucking hands. Can you explain to me why the fuck you felt the need to do that without asking me? He's like, well, I was trying to fix it. I wanted to help. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if I come over to your house and I start fucking with your shit, and I say, I was only trying to help, are you going to be cool with that? No, you're going to be super pissed off. You won't even let me throw away fucking empty cardboard boxes that are sitting in your garage or pantry because you're a fucking hoarder. And you're like, don't touch my stuff. I can clean my own garage and house. Okay, well, it's not a matter of I was trying to help as much as I was trying to force this because you won't do it. Totally different sentiment, right? I wasn't trying to help you. I was trying to help the situation before the fire marshal, who happens to be your fucking friend, comes over and sees that shit and goes, man, you got to clean this shit and get rid of so much. It's a fire hazard. But he won't do it. Second example, recently, I had a section of rug in my basement that I had to get rid of for a reason that will become apparent in an upcoming episode soon here. And I rolled it up and I tied it up and I threw it out my back porch because I got to cut it into pieces so I can throw it away a segment at a time. Now my garage door needed a new spring, and my dad came over to be here for the tech to do the work. And when he gets here, he takes the carpet and he moves it out of the middle of the walkway and puts it under some chairs and behind a bunch of shit, so it's a bitch to get to. And I come home and I see that and I go, fucking A, why am I not surprised? And I call him and ask, why did you do that? And his simple response is, well, it was in the way, someone was going to trip. I'm like, I left it in the way, so it's easy to access, so I can drag it out in the yard and cut it into strips to throw it away easier. Now where you left it, it sat there next to a bunch of shit alongside the wall where there's a screen and not a window. And it rained, and now it's wet and it fucking stinks. And I'm probably going to have fucking either mice living in it or ants building a colony underneath it. When all you had to do was ask me why it's there, and I would have told you, and I would have said, don't fucking touch it, or else. Because it honestly takes that much to get through to that man. But here we go again, another instance where my dad takes the initiative and he doesn't understand why it's a problem. He just looks at the situation and goes, oh, I can make this better. Instead of what his brain should say is, it's my son's house, and every time I try to fix something, I do it to a way that is not to his expectation or liking, and he yells at me. Why can't I learn?
Why?
Why can't he learn?
I don't know.
I'm trying to teach this old dog some new tricks. You would think that after getting his ass chewed enough times for doing things by taking initiative and not asking and crossing my boundaries, because it's my fucking house, that he would learn not to do that. But apparently, my old man is beyond the concept of Pavlovian conditioning. So back to the topic at hand here. Somebody tries to help you, they do something, and you're not happy and you let them know. And it's like a backhanded slap of an apology when you call them on their shit for overstepping your boundaries. And 9 times out of 10, they say they were trying to help, but they were imposing. They were dictating. They were using the guise of help to satisfy some need of theirs rather than yours. Example, when I moved in this house and my mom wanted to get me a housewarming gift, and she's like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, you could pay for this exercise equipment that I just bought. And she's like, I'm not buying workout stuff. I'm going to buy you a patio set and a grill. I'm like, I don't grill my meat. I broil my shit in the oven. Well, you need a patio set. I'm like, I don't have a deck. I have a small back screened patio between the garage and the house. So, no, I don't really want it. What does she do? She buys it because every house needs a patio set and a grill. You need a grill. You're going to use the grill. I'm like, I don't grill, but apparently you think that I do. And since you're too much of a stubborn cunt to listen and you like to force your will upon me, I guess I have a grill that I've used 3 times in 13 fucking years.
Son of a whore!
Thank you for that. Real help to me looks like somebody saying, okay, you have a problem. What can I do to assist you so you can get through this? And then they listen. And if they can't help, that's fine. They offered, right? But not everything's able to be fixed by everybody. And that's okay. However, deciding to spontaneously do something, especially if the person has said no, or you haven't even asked if it's okay, is a different story entirely. That's the other person deciding that their will supersedes yours, and that they're trying to, quote, take care of the situation, like you're a fucking baby. And no matter how many times I remind my mother or my father, I'm a full-grown adult, I'm in my 40s now, I don't need you to wipe my ass, please fucking stop doing these things. They just can't. They can't because it's been ingrained in them by a generation of older parents, the greatest generation, who just did whatever the fuck they wanted, and you had to do whatever they wanted you to do. It was their way or the highway. And that doesn't fly anymore. And I'm not stating that children need to be given full autonomy, but adult children do. You should say, hey, it's their life, it's their house, it's their marriage, it's their relationship, it's their job, it's their finances. Unless they come to you for a handout or advice, you don't need to sit there and lord over their decision-making and try to guide them like you're the only person that knows better. Because it's not helpful. If you want to build strong-minded, independent, resilient children, you will let them fail a few times and figure it out. And then they'll handle it. And if they can't handle it and they come to you, then you know, because you've taught them how to be self-reliant, that they've exhausted all the possible options before they come to you. Keeping this advice and mantra in your head for later. Always feel comfortable communicating your wants and your wills to people so that they take you more seriously and you don't have to be basically subjected to their bullshit and then have to clean up their mess or deal with their butthurt feelings where they do something and you say, I didn't want you to, and they play this, well, I'm only trying to help, which is, it sounds catty and shitty and childish, and then they will sit there and play the victim and claim umbrage when you scold them. Don't let them. Stand up for yourself. And I'm going to end this with an example that is very timely. Now, I did an episode where I talked about my wife, who is divorcing me, taking out an OFP against me, utilizing the courts to try to stick it to me to get the level of custody that she wants, even though the judge told us she typically goes for joint custody, both legal and physical. Now, backstory some, I said no to a shitty deal by my wife and her attorney. They wanted to give me simply 3 out of 14 days in a 2-week cycle, every other weekend and every other Wednesday. And I said, absolutely motherfucking not.
Good for you.
And as soon as she had the opportunity to use something to try to make a bunch of claims to say I'm dangerous or the kids are in harm's way when they're with me, she did. But then when it came time for court, she buckled.
You don't say.
And then she gave in, and now I'm working towards jumping over a few simple hurdles to get my joint custody that the judge told her she needs to accept is going to be given to me. But during this process, I looked into having some friends of mine write me letters of character to explain who I am and how they view me as a father and a friend and a person in general. Now, I asked people that I talk to, that I trust, and that I care about, and I know have the intelligence and the wherewithal and the drive to help me. On the other side of the coin is my mother, who calls me and says, I just want you to know that I talked to number 1 fan Tim's mom, and I'm going to get him and Mrs. number 1 fan, they're going to write letters on your behalf for you. And I immediately started screaming into the phone. I came unglued in a way that I haven't for the longest fucking time. And she got eerily silent because I laid into her like nobody's business. And I simply said, why would you think that I want those people who I no longer talk to and haven't been friends with by my own choice for 2.5 or 3 years now? Why would I have you ask them for help? And question before you answer that one, why would you think that it's okay to ask people to do favors for me on my behalf without consulting me first. Are you that full of yourself that you think you know what's best for me? That, oh, you're only trying to help? Well, guess what, fatty? You didn't help. Now I'm going to give you 10 minutes exactly, to call back number one fan Tim's mom and say these very specific phrases. I was wrong. I crossed his boundary. He's very upset. Please don't have them write a letter for him or contact him at all. I was wrong. And if I don't find out somehow that you use those phrases, I'm going to turn this into a giant thing on Facebook so I can embarrass you to the extended family, including all of my father's sisters and brother and my cousins that I'm friends with on there, so they can see what I deal with. Because that's the worst thing you can do to my mother, is to not only call her on her shit, but out her in an arena where she has no ability to defend the statements being made against her, and she just goes into hiding. And I got to tell you, for all the times when I was a kid, when she made me feel small, and it was emotionally unsafe to speak my piece as a kid, it is damn satisfying to see her grovel and bite her tongue and not know how to take desperate swipes to get the power back in the situation to make me feel small again. She's the one who now doesn't know what she's doing, and I'm the one that has all the control. And that's why when somebody says, I was only trying to help, I basically tell them to go fuck themselves, but in fancier terms. Because I'm an adult, I understand what I need, I will ask for help if I need it, and if I do not, leave me the fuck alone and just stay on the sidelines. You're not an active participant if it doesn't involve you. I don't need you to come and wipe my ass. That goes for anybody, family, friend, coworker, wherever. I refuse to let somebody like my mom interrupt my peace in life by interjecting her wants and wills over me. And I will not accept this, quote, help that she's trying to offer unless I've asked for it. Which I won't, because she's a cunt and I hate her. Interact with the show on Twitter, @WhatDoWeCallIt. That is @WhatDoWeCallIt. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/WhatDoWeCallIt podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann. And that's the end.